Hello, all of my probability pontificators, data nerds. Welcome to my look at the 09 electric scooter that is from RevRides, review the performance. And this is going to be a little bit of a combo review because there were some very slight changes to the scooter since I reviewed it last. But I was able to do more performance related testing on this model now that I have one in my possession. And so I'm going to talk about that, a little bit of comparison, and then I'm going to take you all for a ride, and it'll be just a brief ride just to show you how this one feels compared to the last model. Now the only difference is I got one of the first gen models coming in from RevRides that had the 500 watt rear motor that the rim did not split. So the one I'm looking at now has a 600 watt motor that the rim does split. They both still have the motor disconnect, which is a big feature of the 09 that you don't get to for a lot of scooters kind of way up into their ranges. So having that disconnect, it's really handy when you have a tire issue to address. Other than that, the scooters basically spec the same: 48 volt, 13 amp hour LG battery, 25 amp output controller, all the RevRide stuff, good stuff, like you got 8.5 inch tires. That's what's printed on them. They're more of an effective 9-inch diameter, so sometimes you see the tire size written both ways places. Disc brake in the front, drum brake in the rear, all works quite well. Small elastomer suspension in the front, dual air spring type shocks in the rear. Charging's done via just a standard 2 amp charger, and we'll talk some of the recharge stuff here in a minute. So first thing I'm going to discuss is range. The previous scooter, I wasn't able to range test it that much because of what I had going on at the time. So I got, in the fastest speed mode, I got about 18.5 miles of range. So that's trying to max out speed the whole time. So on this iteration of the scooter, I did not get quite that much range on full out. I got 15.3 miles of range just going full out, and that's still not too bad, and it took about 6 hours to recharge, so the recharge time gets a little longer when you've pretty well depleted the battery. And then in speed mode 2, so maintaining in between 15 and 20 miles per hour as much as I could, I got 19.16 miles, and I had to break that up into two legs because it was a little on the chillier side, 50 to 55 degrees, but the wind chill was getting to me for some reason. So I broke that up into two tests, and I spanned it over one evening and one morning. So that time, it took longer to charge. It took almost 7 hours to recharge. I'm not sure exactly why. But then my lady friend, who's in the 120 pound range, she rode it, and she got little over 19 miles of range to about 50% battery. So I'd say for most, like I'm a 175 pound rider, so I think for most folks, you're going to be somewhere between 15 and 25 miles of range, depending on your weight and how fast you're going. That's always the big numbers that always affects a lot. But I think that's a window that most people are going to see their range drop into. All right, so next is acceleration. I do 4 tests to 100 feet using a camera for time, and I average that number. So on the 500 watt motor version of the 09, I got 6.72 seconds, and on this one I got 6.31 seconds. So almost half a second faster. So I think some people were asking me why, I didn't have very good speed performance. I think it might have been because I had one of those early model 500 watt scooters. This one definitely feels quicker. Same settings in the display, speed settings, performance, percentage, power, everything was all maxed out in both times. So braking distance wise, same. I do 4 tests at as close to 15 miles per hour as I can get, kind of using the display, and I got 14.4 seconds on the previous scooter and 14.3. So basically identical. No real surprise, no real significant changes to the scooter's dimensions or anything, really. For a braking perspective, anyway. So we're going to do two things on the ride. I'm going to give you what the top speed is. My previous top speed was almost 25 miles per hour, 24.8 miles per hour. I want to see what the top speed is going to be with this. And then I'm also going to I'll compare the hill climbing performance to some other comparable battery scooters like the eMove Touring. I'll put that on the screen. So yeah, I'll redo that hill test in a minute here. We'll show you how that goes. But I'm also just I'm putting in a little section in here just called my complaint section. So I'm trying to be positive most of the time, and then I can concentrate my negativity. And my negativity on this one is, and this is my critical mind. I'm hoping that's how, when you're watching this, you're looking at that. I'm trying to find everything that I think you can complain about or have a concern about with this scooter and sort of present it. Sometimes that probably comes across negative, and I don't really mean it that way. So, what's my beefs with this one? What's my beef? The stem. That's the one thing that gets me on this scooter, and I think that's why I've never really fell in love with it, is that there's just a fair amount of flex in here. Even getting this quite tight, it always felt a little sluggish up here in the turning perspective to me, and just a little bit of flex in there, it kind of bummed me out a little. So that's my biggest complaint. I mean, I think the lighting's cool, and I'll turn it on just in case it will be visible on the camera, which you do with a hold of the mode button. The lighting's good. The handlebar clamp everything else is quite solid. It has a good feel. The comfort is really great on it. The dual air tires give you enough cushion. Now there isn't enough suspension travel to really be super aggressively riding, in my mind. And then the rear motor, I guess this turned in from what's my beef section to like a love fest. But the motor, the motors I've seen on all the Zero scooters right now are really quiet. So you're going to see when we ride this, and it's going to be kind of windy outside. It'll be hard to hear it at all. I have something else I can complain about. There always is something. The rear fender. Some of the Zero scooters, the fender's it's not great. But the fenders, there's some aftermarket options for some of these things, and I find that's a pretty trivial detail. But the fenders, I'll complain about the fenders. Sure. I had previously complained about the tire, because I had to replace a tire for somebody on one of these, and it was a big pain in the butt. Now with the separating rim, that's much better. It went from complaint to love fest category. So anyway, we'll see you outside. We're going to ride around, and I'll wrap up the video. So thanks for watching. See you in a second. I'm going to kind of coast down this hill and give you an idea of how the electronic braking keys in. So all that right there is really just the electronic brake. I was not pushing hard enough to really engage the actual brake. Simple one button through the different speed modes, and I'm going to just go through each of them real quick here as my initial review is a better reference for this. So limit 1, I'm getting somewhere in the 14 mile per hour range. We're pretty fresh off the charger. So we're in speed limit 2. See, on this really smooth path, the 0-9 handles quite nicely. So we're getting pretty good speed here. This is speed limit 2 of close to 20 miles per hour. On your left. Alright, so I'm going to bump up into speed limit 3 and let's see what the top speed on this baby is today. I got close to 25 before on the 0-9. It is a cold day. It takes a while to reach that top speed.
The difference between the 2 to 3, it seems like it takes some time to get there. So you can see the 8.5-inch tires are just big enough. I think you get a little, you can actually make it through some light gravel without digging in too much. But here we go, here another top speed. Seems like it's slowly building. It looks like the speedometer might have ticked up to 25. All right, I'm gonna do ye old hill climb here. This is a Bannister Parks Hill, 300 and a little over 310 feet long up to that power pole. It's 12 to 14% slope. So it's a pretty steep hill, really. I'll show on the screen how it compares to other scooters. And I purposely do not help the scooter out because I want to get it made more or less a pure I'm gonna have to see what these numbers look like. I feel like it's just cold enough right now that it's not really performing like I'd expect. I hope you found my little look at my data comparing the two models of the 09 together, and the little bit of ride footage it was helpful or interesting. Again, please see my other video too where I did more riding of the 09. One thing I think is interesting, there were some comments about my initial video about the scooter didn't seem as fast as it should have been, and my data does bear that out. It seems like that a little bit of increase in motor wattage really made a big difference in some of the performance. In the hill climbing, it climbed, I looked at the data, better than the previous version did. I found the data for that old one hidden in a file somewhere. And you know, even though the same battery and the same controller, you should be really having the same output. There's some other characteristics of having a little higher wattage and more magnets, more windings that give you a potential for a little more output. So again, feel free to leave a comment down below. Subscribe if you'd like. Leave me a thumbs up. Thumbs ups are great. It helps on video sorting and what have you. But I hope this helps you out. And it's kind of rainy out, but as soon as the rain clears up, I'm going to be out riding a whole bunch of scooters. So take it easy. See you soon.
Catch the wave. Feel the